Okay, everybody, here we are. This is the live story slam with Lead with Love and Alia Howe and Writ Large. My name is Gina Murdoch. I'm the founder of Lead with Love, and it is such an honor and a privilege to be here in this digital space offering this new experience for us doing our storytelling series online. We have backstage many beautiful human beings who are coming into their hearts in this moment, ready to share stories that they've been working on for more than 7 weeks as part of a storytelling series that I was a part of, and my team, Abby Stern and Nicole Lindstrom, who are also backstage, were part of. We were really in this and part of this experience, and then came into this space of holding as these 5 storytellers emerged with the courage and the confidence to come and share their stories with you tonight. So I am an alumni of the storytelling experience. Last September, we had a live experience at the Wheeler, also with Alia, an amazing experience with the theme Slaying the Dragon. I learned so much by being one of the storytellers last time that I wanted to be a part of this again. We wanted to bring Alia Howe back into our womb, our circle at Lead with Love, because she is such a fabulous, amazing coach and mentor to us and teacher. And so the experience that we've all shared over the 7 weeks has been nurturing, uplifting, scary, upsetting, wonderful. It's been a little bit confronting. The storytelling art is so important, and it calls on all of us to be vulnerable, to be strong, and to share ourselves so that we can be truly seen and heard. And while we all want that in our lives, sometimes that also can be scary. So I want to just take a deep breath right now with the crew backstage, everybody who's watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on our website. A big thank you to Thunder River Theater for helping to stream this experience with us. And a huge shout out to my team in particular, Abby Stern and Nicole Lindstrom, for holding this space with Alia Howe, who is our host tonight. So at Lead with Love, our mission is to shift culture from fear to love. And with this series and with Alia's help, we feel like this is one of the most poignant offerings we have, really diving into things that are potentially holding us back and moving through the story so that we become liberated. And as Marianne Williamson says, when we liberate ourselves, we automatically liberate others. And so I invite you all to join us to eliminate distractions and really be with us, holding a sacred container for these storytellers as they courageously show up for you on this live digital platform, as we've all had to adapt to this new world of COVID. The theme tonight is All One, and Alia will tell you a little bit more about that as well as this entire process. So from myself and the entire team at Lead with Love, welcome. And I am so honored and grateful to you, Alia Howe. Please take it away.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you so much. I want to say a few thank yous right from the get-go. A special shout out to all the team at Thunder River Theatre Company for the tech support and platform to launch this storytelling series with such ease. Thunder River Theatre Company's team is a dream team to work with, which brings me to Lead with Love. I could share tears of joy about how wonderful their offerings are, and that working with them, I was bathed in the experience of them leading with love to me and with such extraordinary professionalism. Thank you. Lead with Love is an organization that is lit by its intent, and I encourage you to sign up for just everything that they offer. You will transform and shift to living a life that you may have only dreamt possible, and they are local. This evening, as Gina mentioned, is a new venture for both Lead with Love and I. It arose from a discussion about how do we come together during COVID-19 when we're required to social distance. And we decided to create a storytelling workshop and this live moment on Zoom platforms and now Thunder River's platform. It was both full of unknowns and for me somewhat some trepidation because I'm used to working live with people, feeling, listening, intuiting. And it was unbelievably surprising and delightfully surprising that we experienced such expansive intimacy, and it was all laced with immense courage. But we all know that public speaking is a number one fear, let alone to share a deeply true and personal story from your life off page. So this series, writ large and working with Lead with Love, is really inclusive and welcomes everyone. And with these online platforms, we were able to expand our reach, adding to the sense of the theme that, yes, we are all one, but running light alongside us was an astute awareness that we are not all treated equally. And that can be a contributing factor to our sense of isolation and aloneness. So back to you who've logged in tonight. Thank you for logging in. And by your tuning in, you show that the stories are really valued and need to be heard and held by us. For we are, as humans, a storytelling species. We like to share our perspectives, our opinions, and to learn from others. It's a fact that a community without a narrative cannot hold itself. It doesn't have the glue to hold itself together as a community. So keep creating stories together. And this local storytelling series, I've been curating it for over 8 years in this valley. And it's been touching the hearts of the participants and the audience. And we've just been expanding our awareness and understanding of things that occur in people's lives, tragedies to celebrations and everything in between. And I sit here sharing the screen with you, with the storytellers, bathing in the privilege that I've been able to hear these stories morph and develop and deepen over 8 weeks, and they are truly someone's personal story is a treasured gift. And as they don't have the experience of seeing your eyes and feeling the energy and the feedback in the room, there's a chat box here on your screen. So please let the storytellers know what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And Lead with Love has a Facebook page and an Instagram page. So please reach out. And if you want to join a storytelling workshop or event, then just reach out to Lead with Love and they'll hook you into the next one that we're running. Lastly, I invite you to listen to the story as though you were living the story with the storyteller. Let yourself laugh and cry with them. It's an invitation to feel together, sharing the experience. There will be 5 storytellers tonight, and then a closing meditation led by Nicole Lindstrom from Team Lead with Love. And the whole event will last approximately 1 hour. Our first storyteller is AJ Finney. He is a passionate Denver-based comedian, and you may have heard him on All Comedy Radio on Sirius XM. AJ, thank you for leaping in and being first up on this storytelling evening. Take it away.
Early August in 2003, my best friend Chad and I had just piled into my 96 Ford Ranger and headed west for a camping trip in the Rocky Mountains. And we were about halfway between Kansas City and Colorado. I received a phone call from my fiance. And I don't remember the words that she spoke, but I knew she was going to back out of the wedding. And that threw me into an immediate panic. My reaction was to just simply hold the phone up and go, "Hey, can you hear me? Oh, shit, I think I'm losing service. Hey, I haven't heard anything you've said, so we're going to have to talk about this when I get back in a few days." I hung the phone up and immediately felt that knot start to grow in my throat. I was having a hard time swallowing and an even harder time holding back the tears. I think I'd completely forgotten about my friend in the passenger seat. I don't even remember telling Chad. I think he just knew that we were going to have to turn around. I felt the entire weight of the world crumbling down on me. And to top it off, I'd also just ruined my best friend's vacation. Now eastbound, heading back to Kansas City. There's not a lot of conversation happening in the truck. I'm trying to hold it together externally, but inside, my brain is bargaining with thoughts of like, well, this probably isn't really over now then, is it? I mean, let's be honest, calm down. How many problems have you had? How many real fights have we had? 1, 2, maybe? Our last girlfriend and I broke up like 30 times. 30 times. If you take those statistics into this particular situation, we've got like 28 more times before this is over. Look, most of our dating history has been mastering the art of make-up breakup. We should be more comfortable in this. We don't have anything to worry about. This is going to be fine. Ah, shit, did I just miss my turn? After dropping Chad off, I now found myself outside the security gate of our apartment complex. And for the first time in about a year and a half, I can't figure out the gate sequence code. I think it took me like 6 or 7 times to actually get the light to go from red to green, which is mesmerizing because I've punched this code in 100 times in the year and a half that I've lived there. Finally, it hit, the light turned green, and the gate opened. And even though it opened without a sound, I'll always remember it as having the sound of a rusty iron gate, the kind that opened to a cattle yard on the day of slaughter. I had no idea what I was about to walk into. Now, 2 days earlier than expected, I slid my key into the lock. I turned the handle and I pushed the door open. I lifted my head and saw a man I'd never seen before sitting up from my futon and putting his clothes on. My entire world just seemed to shake. Nothing made sense. And I was trying to figure out if possibly I'd walked into the wrong apartment. He saw me and immediately said, "Who are you?" And I thought, I don't even know if I know. And I responded by going, I mean, I live here? God, I don't even know if I knew anymore. He responded by then going, "Oh," which is a sound even when I say today hollows out everything behind my rib cage. I'm so psychologically screwed up at this point, standing in my doorway looking at him, that I'm actually feeling bad for him. With thoughts of like, why did we come home early, AJ? We should have called. We had a phone. Let them know. This guy had plans. We've ruined it. Fuck, what are we doing? And then a lightning bolt of emotion shot through my body and just said, this is bad. This is bad. I don't know what's going on, but it's bad. We can't be here. We have to leave. He's still awkwardly staring at me. I'm staring at him and realized that we haven't spoken a second. And then I just said, I just came to get my phone charger. And I scanned the room. I grabbed the charger from the wall. I removed it, turned, walked out. And as soon as I heard the door slam behind me, I knew immediately that my life was about to go through a terrible amount of turbulence. And not only that, but also that I had stolen somebody else's phone charger. The upcoming months were going to be pretty rough on me. Thank God my friend Chris had opened a place in his house for me. And that was wonderful, and I was terribly grateful for it. But it was a block and a half from where I was living, which meant that multiple times a day I would have to pass by my old life, which would inevitably invoke tears. I was also stuck in fight or flight, sympathetic, parasympathetic phase. I was paranoid, delusional, sleep deprived, and just simply wasn't taking a very, very good care of myself at all. Most days were filled with panic. Also now have been displaced from what I thought was a newlywed nest to a bit of a ramshackle bachelor pad. There were smells I didn't recognize, stains I had no idea where they came from. And at the most manic point of all of this, I remember seeing a hole in the wall and it convinced myself that it was a bullet hole. just sitting there going, that's a bullet hole. I mean, we've never seen a real bullet hole, but we've seen enough movies involving guns. That's a bullet hole. And that stain, that's blood. Someone was killed here. This is a crime scene. We live in a murder house. How did we go from one place to now living in a murder house? This isn't safe. The futon I saw the man sit up from was now what I called my bed. Every night I would spend trying to sleep, and every morning I would spend manically cleaning and rearranging Chris's belongings after he went to work. In a mantra of everything clean, everything new, everything clean, everything new. I think looking back, I thought that if I could make sense of my outside world by cleaning and rearranging it, maybe the chaos that was going on inside of me would somehow follow. If I would get my cleaning done in time, sometimes I would go out on manic spending sprees for obsessive things, mostly CDs or DVDs, things that I thought would somehow heal me by watching or listening to them. I would just spend most of my days wondering how long it would take for me to be normal again. About 8 weeks ago, when I started working this story with Lead with Love, I had a lot of resistance to moving into this. I wasn't sure if I wanted to tell this story at all. And I had talked to my mother on the phone, and I told her, I said, I'm in a storytelling class. And she goes, that's wonderful, honey. What story are you going to tell? And I told her, and she goes, oh, Jesus, why? Why would you tell that story? Why, in God's name, would you want to relive that moment in your life? And for the first time, I thought, I don't know. I really don't. I could have literally picked any story and it would have been easier than this one. But the more I told it, the easier it became, and the braver I became with who and where I would share this story. And one day I actually shared it at work in a cafeteria. And after I got done, a guy that I kind of knew on the outskirts, on the other side of the table, said, wow, AJ. Hey, man, do you know what happened to me? And then he shared a story. And when he got done, a woman to his left shared a story. And at that moment, I realized that the moment in my life that had me so isolated and alone was now the exact same moment that was bonding me with people. And at that moment, I knew why I was sharing the story. And it's the same reason I would encourage others to share their stories. 2 weeks after that moment, in the same cafeteria, around the same group of friends, an electrician who was working in the building walked in. And he goes, hey guys, this is kind of a weird question, but does anyone here by chance have a phone charger I can borrow? Thank you.
Thank you, AJ. Our next storyteller, I have to just say thank you, AJ, again. Thank you. Our next storyteller, Taylor Howe, is a Carbondale native. Here she is. Turned third culture kid, i.e. someone who spent a significant portion of their early developmental years traveling because her mother dragged her all over the world. And that's me. Taylor is my daughter. And she is one of the co-founders of Nickel, a 5-sensory production house based in Chicago. And right now, she and her team are currently producing the 27th Chicago Underground Film Festival. I am so proud of her willingness to work with me and her courage at sharing her truth. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Ready when you are.
When COVID-19 first hit the streets of Chicago back in early March, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to get out of the city for a bit and hunker down at my boyfriend's mom's place in Union Pier, Michigan. This was going to be the first time in my life that I'd ever spend more than a month totally by myself. I'm being honest with myself now, and with you guys listening, I was absolutely terrified. Around the same time, the film festival I've been working on made the decision to postpone until September. So by the time I got to Michigan, I had ample amount of time on my hand. And what I found myself most frequently doing is combing through the stories I noticed I have on repeat. One of the stories in particular really stood out to me, and since I had all this time, I wanted to use it wisely and figure out if there was a way that I could unpack this specific feeling that came with the story of me feeling alone in the world, especially during times of uncertainty, fear. And so while I was in Michigan, after I found this story, I was really curious as to where it originated and when I started telling it to myself, because I knew it was a story that I had been telling myself rather than having someone told me. And I knew that it become kind of a belief. So I figured out that in 3rd grade, like my mother just said earlier, we made the first of a series of moves, and it was to England. I did everything in my power to try and fit in with my new classmates. And for those of you who have not maybe shifted different schools at a very early age, you might be familiar with the experience of, let's say, being invited to a party by a friend of yours who is a bit more bubbly than you, likes to socialize. And as you could have guessed, as soon as you guys got there together, that friend of yours totally bails on you and goes to socialize with other people, and they leave you to figure out a way to navigate your environment and survive, at least for the next few hours, until you feel like it's socially acceptable to make the rounds and say peace and head on home. That feeling of being the outsider, being a newcomer. And honestly, when I was in England, I felt like a hidden immigrant, someone who, based off of their appearance, they look like they belong, but when you talk to them, you find out that they don't. After a few of these new schools and these experiences of feeling like the outsider, the new girl, I got good at it. But what that also did to me is it created this sense of disconnection and isolation. And I carry that with me still. But while I was in Michigan, with time on my hands, and after I figured out that there was this year that I started to tell myself the story and I could track it to the current date, I remembered at that exact moment in time that I packed in my bag this Ziploc baggie of psilocybin cubensis mushrooms, also known as magic mushrooms. And this was the first time that I had ever really entertained the idea of taking a more medicinal psychedelic journey. And it was the first time that I've ever explored psychedelic mushrooms. And I figured that now, out of any other time, would be an appropriate time for me to really unpack this feeling of aloneness and see if there was another way to view this narrative, my own reality. So I scouted out a place in the middle of the woods where it was totally just surrounded by trees. And it reminded me of the place at the Waldorf School on the Roaring Fork, down by the swamplands. And I felt really held. So I knew that I found my setting. I had my mindset. I had my intention to unpack this feeling and see if there was another way I could view this story. And I took a heroic dose of these mushrooms in the middle of the woods, totally by myself. And thinking back on that now, I feel like I sound fucking insane, but it was a moment that I felt ready. And while I'm still really struggling to figure out how to accurately describe what I saw projecting on the backside of my eyelids during God knows how long, because I lost all track of time. But what I can tell you right now is that for the first time since I was a little girl, playing with my imaginary friends and laughing with gnomes, elves, and fairies in the wetlands, did I remember what it feels like to feel connected to the natural world and a part of something so much bigger than myself. And that trip was almost 3 months ago now. And still, I can't fully wrap my mind around it. But what I have been able to fathom and grasp is that during moments when I feel fearful or alone or nervous that I have no idea what I'm doing, I know that there is another way to view my own reality and to change the narrative. And no, that does not mean I'm going to eat mushrooms 24/7. But what that does mean is I saw that we are all interconnected and that we are not different from the birds and the bees and the trees. It is us and our own self and our own mind that tells us this story. And I hope, with everything that's going on in the world right now, that someday there will be access and resources for anyone who desires to maybe explore this natural route of self-healing and spirituality. I hope that they will be able to if they so choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. I really heard in your process and in your sharing how your experience of connectivity in relationship to COVID-19 and how are we all going to learn how to come back and connect in a more meaningful way. And you also wrote down, and I just want to share this, that Taylor hopes that her psychedelic coming out story can contribute to the destigmatization of psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, that it be used mindfully to help people with mental health issues. Thank you, Taylor, for bringing that to the forefront.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah. So, our next storyteller, Jarrad Lee. Hi.
Hello.
I've been giving them all tongue twisters, and I feel like Jarrad has done that within the first 3 words for me. Jarrad is a passionate hospitalitarian who has spent his career focused on destination resorts and hospitality. He has worked with restaurant groups and has specialized in destination mountain resort towns for more than 15 years, creating bespoke hospitality experiences. Jarrad's vision is to create access to wellness-based training and resources to work through the issues dealt with in the hospitality industry. Addiction, depression, suicide, personal financial management, and healthy life routines are all areas that many in the hospitality industry face in their personal life. And Jarrad is here to share his story and why this is so necessary for the industry, especially right now. Thank you, Jed.
Thank you, Alia. 11 million are currently unemployed in our industry. I'm a leader in the hospitality industry, and that is our harsh reality right now. Throughout my career, I've set and achieved many goals. Been blessed to work with some of the best hospitalitarians in the entire world. Some of those goals have meant taking teams to the James Beard House, Condé Nast Awards around the world, All of these achievements have led me to set a new goal. I fell in love with this industry very early on, and I felt called to be of service my entire life in some form or fashion. My goal now is to create resource and wellness centers for hospitality professionals to help them cope with the things they go through in life. Currently as a general manager, formerly as a food and beverage director, always as a leader, I've taken on the role of a counselor, and I get to see the gap on a daily basis in these areas. And I feel the need now more than ever for these type of things. Hospitality professionals have had their world ripped right out from under them, but they aren't the only ones. Obviously, many industries are going through this. What many don't know about hospitality professionals is they were hiding their pain and suffering long before any of this ever happened. I know the depths of struggles myself, and have had to fight to get my life back together multiple times. And that's why I've been called to be of service to these people now. My childhood, in my late teens, I spent 6 months in inpatient therapy, developed some wonderful skills throughout that period that I still use to this day. But I also had to do difficult things like learn how to set boundaries for myself, which I still struggle with. It led to me eventually divorcing both of my parents. As I reached my 20s, I was faced with physical challenges. Before I hit 30, and for the next decade, I would struggle with those challenges while still trying to maintain my career. Late 20s, I suffered from major cancer, where I was told I had 30 days to live. Luckily, that wasn't true, but shortly thereafter, I was diagnosed with Chiari malformation, which is a major brain disorder, and led to a major brain surgery for me. I woke up with seizure disorders. I'd lost 40 pounds, and I was having to consider permanent disability multiple times. During that period, I almost died 4 times, resuscitated by paramedics. So I know, like I said, the depths. After those recoveries, I felt focused and motivated and started to climb the corporate ladder again. And the hospitality industry was feeling great, but I forgot about my issue, balance, being a workaholic. This presented a new challenge at 40 years old that I did not have the skill set for and was not prepared for. At that time, I started suffering from panic attacks. Never had these in my entire life. This led to me resigning the job that I loved and that I wanted to be a part of for a very long time. Immediately, I knew I needed help though. So I went right back to therapy because I needed skills and support to deal with these panic attacks. I had no idea how to. All this has connected the dots for me. The hospitality industry sees so many who suffer with addictions to food, drugs, alcohol, living paycheck to paycheck, and you make more than enough money, not just having the basic financial skills and understanding of how to balance your budget. They suffer from abusive relationships. They suffer from depression. They have suicidal thoughts, and unfortunately, some do take their lives. What I know is they're lacking the resources and life skills that they just weren't given and that they deserve. They're living in pain while being of service to others every day, making memories for people. I watch this, I see it. It's absolutely beautiful. It makes me wonder what would happen if these people had access to the resources and skills that they would put to benefit. How much better would the hospitality industry be? How much more profitable would we be? What new connections will they make with our guests? And what memories will they make for them? I know the depths of mental and physical struggle. I know what it's like to wonder how you're going to make it through a single day or even long term. I know what it's like to feel like a burden to those you love and who love you. I also know what it's like to hate yourself and want to die. Luckily, I also know the benefit from having this kind of help when you feel there's nowhere else to turn. Helping yourself isn't easy, otherwise we would all do it. Creating access to these resource and wellness centers will give these folks a way and an outlet to grow the skills they need to give back, to be of service even more. I don't know how I'm going to bring this vision to reality, but I will, because I love this industry, and I'm willing to connect the dots and people to make it happen. My first goal was to set trends and not follow them in this industry. I've been blessed enough to achieve that. My new goal is to set trends in self-care and wellness within this industry. I know this starts by sharing my dream with others. I know it comes to reality by reaching out, reminding myself I can't do this all alone. But when I reach out in love, I know we are all one and can do this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jarrad. Please keep us posted with what your next step is, where you need help, and let us know how bringing your vision into fruition is manifesting. Thank you. Thank you for all your work within the hospitality industry. Thank you for sharing such a difficult journey and knowing that you work with anxiety, public speaking, and sharing your story tonight. We really, really know how you stepped up so courageously. Our next storyteller is Australia-born Hedda Lee. Hedda enjoys living many lives simultaneously. Her many adventures in this life have seen her as a journalist, global media strategist, a gourmet Whole Food chef, and the owner of Los Angeles' first and only vegan hotel, the Treehouse Bel Air. Based between Southern California and the south of France, Hedda reads and speaks prolifically on high-frequency foods, teaches Kundalini yoga of the spine, and continues to perfect the world's best raw vegan tiramisu. When she is not traveling around the world, she enjoys astral traveling and practicing telepathy. This is her first public performance of her own, and she is ecstatically nervous. Thank you, Hedda.
Thank you. It's 1975, Melbourne, Australia. I'm 14 years old and I'm a very lonely, awkward teenager. It's also the year I discovered marijuana. The marijuana was the perfect recreational drug for me. I got to hang with the cool kids, felt like I belonged. And it was exotic because the marijuana came in from Thailand. And best of all, I was able to smoke myself into oblivion and anesthetize myself from the death of my sister a few years earlier. When I stopped smoking some 30 years later at the age of 44, I realized that I had so much emotional baggage to unpack and so much to process. And I felt so much grief, and it was a really angry moment of uncovering the chaos that so many years of marijuana smoking had done to me. And so I consider it to be a very insidious drug, and I'm full of rage in this current climate when everybody I meet seems to be smoking dope. It's not the kind of manifestation that I want as a spiritual seeker. And yet I also understand that what persists, what I resist persists, and so it's coming at me in waves. And I think the victory of giving something up like this and acknowledging that you were a drug addict means that this victory, when you have to then encounter it over and over and over again, it also causes a lot of fear. So I feel fear, and I realize that I don't completely trust myself. Fast forward to this past year, 2020, and we're in the time of COVID-19, and we're all hunkered down at the treehouse. And although hospitality's flatlined, guests are arriving at my sanctuary. I have some rules. It would not be surprising to you that no drugs, including marijuana, is one of them. Also no alcohol and no cigarettes. And this actually puts me in direct conflict with my husband, who I assume is still doing all of the above and considers me something of a mini tyrant in these rules. And it sort of makes me laugh, because I'm there thinking, well, wow, you know, all these things are the things of enslavement, and you French, you like to bang the drum of liberty for things that are enslaving you. Needless to say, we're in a bit of a house of fun at the treehouse with that going on. And these rules, you know, it's sort of ironic, because, you know, we've got a little corner of the world where I feel safe and in control. And actually, we're not in control of much of anything. And we on top of that, we have this invisible enemy that we're now dealing with, on top of the visible enemy that I'm now dealing with, or continue to be dealing with, which is marijuana. So this particular day, it happens to be a full moon. And there's always this element of additional madness and lunacy and revelation that comes with that. And, you know, one of the cornerstones of this little boutique hotel at the treehouse is that my husband and I seem to keep meeting our issues in the people who show up. So, you know, talk about manifestation there. So this particular full moon day, there's this extremely erratic and urgent knock on the front door. And I'm thinking, just by the sound of it, oh my goodness, what are we going to be welcoming today as a guest? I open the door and there's Raymond, 20-something, and he's stoned out of his mind. And I think to myself, is that what I was like? Is that really what I was like? Kind of the chaos that I was in, and I couldn't see it in that situation. So very confronting. I welcome him in and to his room, and he's mumbling unintelligibly, very, very antsy. I'm trying to tell him, you know, no smoking, no alcohol, no drugs, there's no room service, there's no use of public areas. Basically, I need the dude to stay in his room. And I take a deep breath, and I'm thinking, wow, really, what she resists is persisting again. And I'm a little frightened for the night ahead. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And this is the 4th time that he's out of his room. And this time he's talking in a really loud voice at the top of the stairs to an invisible friend. And I open the door and I see that another guest, has just opened their door. And Raymond goes, "What are you doing here?" And I'm going, oh my goodness, really, truly, this is a madhouse. This is a madhouse. I say, "Raymond, go to your room. Go to sleep. Stay there." And he bounces back in a moment of lucidity, "You go to sleep too." He skulks to his room. I'm still looking through the door, and I'm going, what am I thankful for? What am I thankful for? Oh, I'm thankful that Raymond does as he's told. Great. I'm awake. I'm very, 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 very awake. And I'm getting really agitated. I'm getting myself wound up. I'm just going to have him again. What's going to do? And then I go, hang on a tick. You've been studying this spiritual stuff for 30 years, and now you get the chance to practice it. You can do something about this. You can manifest a completely different reality. And so, I really take that in, and I close my eyes. And I start to pray, like really pray. And I pray for myself, and I'm praying for my husband. I'm praying for my family. I'm praying for Raymond. I'm praying for Raymond. And I'm praying for this crazy world that we're all together in. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Over and over and over again, this trance mantra of self-liberation, of self-responsibility, and of unity consciousness, of we're all together in this. And I open my eyes and look at the clock, and 2 hours have passed, and wow, it's daylight outside. And I close my eyes again for a moment, and I find myself mind melding with Raymond. I can feel it. I'm inside his brain, and I say to Raymond telepathically, it's time for you to leave. Raymond, it's time for you to leave. And just like that, he does. Thank you.
Thank you, Hedda. Wow, this has been a wild journey with your story, and you're still unpacking it. Lots of surprises. Brilliant, thank you. Our last storyteller is Sarah Sanders. Hi, Sarah. Sarah is coming to us from Aspen, Colorado. She is employed by the Wheeler Opera House. She has seen the magic of the storytelling events and knew that one day when herself and her sister Courtney were ready, they would share their story together. Courtney and Sarah have been working together on their story over the last 2 months individually and together. Eventually, they will share their story together, but tonight you're going to hear Sarah's side of the story about two sisters who love each other through all that life throws at them.
Thank you, Alia. Her eyes are as big as saucers, dark pools staring through me. It's like I can't even see her in there. Is she possessed? She's talking so fast, I can't keep up. She's mad at the government. She wants to quit her job. She wants to start a wedding venue business. Something about an algorithm on the internet that's going to change everything. Does she want me to quit my job? She's pacing back and forth in front of me. The eyes get bigger. The talking gets faster. The pacing gets quicker. She tells me she hasn't slept in days. Friends and family are beginning to reach out. Is Courtney okay? They're really worried about her. I try to do what we always do when we're having a bad day. We're in our mid-20s, and usually on rockin' sushi happy hour does the trick for us and solves all of our problems. My plan is to get my sister drunk, in hopes that if I can get her drunk, I can get her to sleep. And if I can get her to sleep, maybe in the morning after a good night rest, she'll be the person I know and love. I didn't say it was a good plan. We're in the bar now. My sister's clinging to strangers. She's talking so loud and none of it is making any sense. I'm begging her to leave, but she won't listen. She actually can't hear me. The room's closing in around me. I feel like I'm beginning to suffocate. I feel we're both losing control, and we are in different ways. In a desperate attempt to get my sister to pay attention to me, that I want to get out of there, I grab her, I turn her to face me, and I slap her across the face as hard as I possibly could. I am not proud of this. This is the first and only time I've ever hit anyone in my entire life. She stared back at me, her face starting to get rosy from the sting, her mouth curled up, and she laughed one of the scariest laughs I've ever heard. Years later, she would tell me that she appreciated that slap because it was one of the only real things to her during that time. That sucks that she appreciated getting hit by me, but talk about the growth and healing in her journey. We walked a short walk home that night, me trying to hide my tears from her to her home. I get inside. I immediately hide the gun as far away as I can. I grab her phone. I lock myself in her room, or in her guest room, and I try to figure out what the heck is going on. Another first for the evening. This would be the first time I've ever been truly scared of my sister and best friend. In the morning, we would be awoken to a knock at the door. Unbeknownst to us, Courtney's employer had called in a welfare check. They were really worried about her. A lot of people were. I've never been so relieved to see police officers at the front door. Finally, somebody can help us. They inform us that they're going to take Courtney into the hospital to get her checked out. We're now outside the emergency room. I run up to the police vehicle. I see my sister slumped on her side in a blank state, and I think, holy crap, maybe she has a brain tumor. Maybe she's having a mini stroke. She had a mini stroke once due to stress. Maybe that's what this is. I'm trying to make any sense of what the heck is going on. I drag her out of the police vehicle into the emergency room and demand to be seen. Because of how my sister looked and because of the scene I was causing, we were quickly rushed into a smaller room to be less disruptive. I regret what happens next. I didn't know that we were going to be judged for how we looked. And by the way, it wasn't our best. We had not slept in days. We had yesterday's makeup on, dripping down our face. Our hair hadn't been brushed, and we were in our pajamas. We were not the adorable Sanders sisters you guys are used to seeing around town. That's for sure. I didn't know that my sister was about to be held against her will for weeks at a time, with no say in the matter at all. I didn't know the pain that she was going to experience in there. I trusted that hospitals and doctors were safe places. I truly thought I was getting her help. I didn't know what a manic bipolar episode was, and I was studying fucking psychology at the time. This was not like what I was learning about in school. This was so much scarier. I didn't know that this could happen to my best friend and the person I love most in the world. This sucks. I didn't know that they would repeatedly tell us over and over again and ask, what drugs are you two on? We were not on drugs. We might have been slightly hungover, but we were not on drugs. We were experiencing Courtney's first manic bipolar episode. This was her first hospitalization and the beginning of a decade-long battle with this disorder, mental health, and our relationship. Years later, I would be diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety from these experiences. Individually, we have done countless amounts of therapy. We've seen doctors, we've seen psychiatrists, psychologists, medications, life coaches, mentors, podcasts, books, yoga retreats, meditation retreats. We have done it all. We lean on our friends and family and our support system to get us through this, to begin to heal. But sometimes that's not enough. Following episodes, Courtney and I tend to drift apart because we both have so much pain and we're so broken in different ways. We don't know how to communicate. So I asked her to come to therapy with me. And I learned how to communicate with her. We can't do this alone. We need each other. We acknowledge the pain that we've both caused and know that we did the best we could in those times. We forgive. We forgive ourselves, but more importantly, we forgive each other. We are honest in our conversations. We ask, is this okay? Is this too much? What language works better? We're more in tune now than ever than we have been with our sensitivities, and how do we support each other through this? We are brave in our conversations and gentle at the same time. 2 months ago, my sister and I started this journey in writing and working on this story together with the intention of sharing it on a live stage, which sounds totally crazy because if you had asked us 10 years ago if we would be brave enough to get on stage and talk to you about some of the most traumatic experiences in our lives, we both would have said, hell no. But we're here. And with the support of my sister this evening, hi Court, I love you. She's watching right now, guys. Everybody give her a big round of applause in the comments. I'm here tonight to stand in my version of our story, to stand in our pain, to stand in our hope, and more importantly, to stand in our healing. Eventually, our intention will be lived on, and we will share our story together on a stage, hopefully a really big one day soon. And she'll share her story separately, standing in her pain and her wounds and her healing. She's amazing. But for right now, this is how we had to do it. We are committed to our stories, our healing, and moving forward and supporting each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Courtney, for being part of this journey in the workshops. Mental health and just being given a lens into your journey has just given us such insight. And Sarah and her sister told me that their hope in sharing their story with you, with us, is to inspire you not to give up on your loved ones struggling with mental health. Mental health affects not only the person in the diagnosis, but all of the people who love them too. Together, from their experience, they encourage you that you can begin to manage it, live well, and heal. And now, everyone on live stream, I am so thrilled to be able to invite Nicole Lindstrom here to come on up. And Nicole is a yoga and meditation teacher here in the Valley. She is co-author of Wanderlust, a modern yogi's guide to becoming your best self, and current well-being and community director of Lead with Love in Aspen, Colorado. And we want this meditation here for just you not to run off out into your everyday life, but just to pause and feel. Nicole, thank you. Take us in.
Close your eyes. Tune inward. Take a deep inhale through your nose and exhale out through your mouth. Place your hands on your heart. Reflect back on what you just experienced. How do you feel? How do you feel having witnessed heart, vulnerability, and story? And resting your hands on your heart, breathe. Feel. Stay inward. What moments are playing in your mind? What moments are playing in your heart? Is there anything that you felt or that you heard that you would like to remember, that you would like to take with you from this moment onward? Do you feel a sense of connection? A sense of connection with others? Through their stories, their experiences. Are we all one? Or are we alone? And the hands pressing into the heart. Again, breathe in and breathe out. Open your eyes.
Thank you, Nicole. Gosh, everyone listening, I want to know your thoughts. I would love you to put them in the chat line. How did you feel? What touched you? What part of the stories grabbed you, tugging at your heartstrings, shut you down? Please reach out on the live comments. Please reach out on Facebook or Instagram, and let us know what and how you were impacted. And yeah, reach out to the storytellers too. If you want to be part of a storytelling workshop or event, please reach out to Lead with Love. The team with Gina, Abby, Nicole has been a dream for us all to work with. I have felt so held. Thank you. And last of all, storytellers, I want to say thank you.